Hi, good day. Let me get your attention. I am Michelle Villanueva, and in this report, I am going to analyze a poem titled Ozymandias by Percy Shelley. In this report, I am going to read the poem and discuss the biography of the author. And after that, I am going to discuss the sound devices that are being used using IPA symbols. Then I am going to discuss the rhymes scheme, and I'm going to identify and explain the type of end rhyme in the poem and identify and discuss the rhythmical pattern and illustrate the ictus and brief in each syllabus. After that, I'm going to identify the poetic form, the persona, and the theme of the poem. But before I'm going to proceed, I will first read the poem, and I hope you will be attentive and will listen carefully to what I will say. Ozymandias by Percy Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert, near them on sand. Half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamp on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Thank you. So, the poem Ozymandias was written by Percy Shelley. And the question is, who is Percy Shelley? Percy Shelley was born on the 4th of August 1792 in Horsham, Sussex, England, and died on the 8th of July 1822 at the age of 29 in the Gulf of Las Pasha Kingdom of Sardinia, and it is now called Italy due to boating incident. He was one of the major English romantic poet, dramatist, and essayist, and novelist. He studied in the Eton College and University College, Oxford. He is the son of Timothy Shelley, a squire and member of Parliament, and Elizabeth Pilfold, and a husband of Harriet Wisbrook and his second wife, Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. He is the oldest to their seven siblings and left home at the age of 10 to study at Sion House Academy. After 2 years, he enrolled at Eton College. While there, he was severely bullied, both physically and mentally, by his classmates. In the fall of 1810, Shelley entered University College, Oxford. It seems a better academic environment for him than Eton, but after a few months, a dean demanded that Shelley visit his office. Shelley and his friend Thomas Jefferson co-authored a pamphlet titled The Necessity of Atheism, and he was expelled because of that. In 1812, he met his hero and future mentor, the radical political philosopher William Godwin, author of Political Justice. American literary critic Harold Bloom described him as a super craftsman, a lyric poet without rival, and surely one of the most advanced skeptical intellects ever to write a poem. A radical in his poetry as well as in his political and social views, Shelley did not achieve fame during his lifetime, but recognition of his achievement in poetry grew steadily following his death, and he became an important influence on subsequent generations of poets. Some of his notable works titled Prometheus Unbound, The Cincy, Queen Mab, Hymn to Intellect, Beauty, Adonais to the Sky Lark, Ode to the West Wind, Mont Blanc, and Ozymandias. Ozymandias. Shelley also wrote prose fiction and quantity of essays on political, social, and philosophical issues. Shelley's life was marked by family crisis, ill health, and backlash against his atheism, political views, and defiance of social conventions. He went into permanent exile in Italy in 1818 and over the next 4 years produced what leaders and O'Neill call some of the finest poetry of the Romantic period. On July 8, 1822, Shelley drowned while sailing his schooner back from Livorno to Lirici after having met with Hunt to discuss their newly printed journal, The Liberal. However, based on the scene that was discovered on the boat's deck, others speculated that he might have been murdered by an enemy who detested his political beliefs. Shelley died, leaving many of his works unfinished, unpublished, or published in expurgated versions with multiple errors. So, Ozymandias by Percy Shelley was written in 1817 and it was first published in the Examiner in 1818. It is one of the most famous poems of the Romantic era and became Shelley's most famous work. The poem describes half-buried remnants of statue of uh, the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses III, which is called Ozymandias in the time of Percy Shelley. In the poem, the narrator relates that someone else described to him about pieces of a broken statue lying in a desert. Once a great symbol of power and strength, the statue has become a metaphor for the ultimate powerlessness of man. Maybe Christians might compare Ozymandias as Jesus Christ because of the description in the poem claiming that he is the King of Kings. Well, in fact, it is stated in the Bible that Jesus is the King of Kings, which is eternal, while Ozymandias is not. Shelley is an atheist, and I believe that he did not think that way either, and that is an irony of the poem. Ozymandias is claiming that he is internal even when he is obviously not. But Shelley was also a political writer, and Ozymandias provide insights into the poet's views on power, fame, and political legacy. Ultimately, the poem shows that political leadership is fleeting and forgotten, no matter how hard a ruler may try to preserve his own greatness. This poem is highly anthologized and is featured in the Norton Critical Edition in the second edition of Shelley's work titled Shelley's Poetry and Prose in 2002. For us to better understand the poem, allow me to discuss the sound devices that is being used in the poem. In the first stanza, I met a traveler from an antique land. So the assonance here is very obvious. As we can see, there is a short vowel U sound as in In the second stanza, in here, there is a consonant sound, meaning the T sound or the T or the T sound is dominant in this line. Like for example, to, trunkless, and stone. The T sound or the T sound or the T sound is being repeated 3 times. On the third line, stand in the desert near them on the sand. There is assonant sound. The A sound found in the sand and stand, the A sound. In the fourth line, there is a dominant sound S or S from the stanza, half sunk, shattered visage lies whose front. So the word sunk, lies, and whose, we have the dominant sound of S, the S sound. So I think it is obvious. In the fifth stanza, unwrinkled lip and snare of cold command, there is alliteration with the K sound or K sound from cold and command. Next, we can find assonance in the sixth stanza. Tell that its sculptor well those passions read. the tell, the well, and the red. So why assonance? There is a short E sound from the word tell, well, and red. On the next line, there is a consonant sound here. The S sound or S sound is being repeated several times, which yet survive, stamp on these lifeless things. Survive, stamp, these lifeless and things. So the S sound or the S sound is being repeated several times. On the seventh stanza, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. There is a short vowel U sound as in the heart, and that hand and the heart that fed. So the sound is very visible. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. So that is very visible. The next stanza is the assonant sound I, which is the long sound E. And on the pedestal, these words appear. There is a consonant sound. There is an assonant sound of E. The pedestal, this, and appear. So there is an assonant sound E. And next, there is also a consonant sound M or In the 10th stanza, my name is Ozymandias. So, my name and Mandias is have a consonant sound or M. Next is assonant sound. We have long U sound as in U from the line, look on my works ye mighty and despair. The look, on, and works have the long U sound as in U. On the 12th line, there is an assonant sound E from the word beside, remains, and decay. So there is a assonant sound E. On the 13th line, we can find alliteration here from the word boundless and bare. We have here the B, the B, the B sound or the B sound from bare and boundless. And lastly, we also have alliteration from the word lone and level. That is the sound letter L. With this poem, alliteration, assonance, consonants, and euphony is present. Euphony found in the word visage, wrinkled mac, mighty despair, decay, and colossal wreck because of the pronunciation of the word. So, moving on, let's now proceed to the rhyme scheme of the poem. So, the basic stanza of this poem is called octave rima, which is an 8-rhyme stanza in iambic pentameter with a rhyme scheme of A B A C D C, and a mixed stanza followed by the rhyme scheme of E D E F E F. With this illustration, we can see how the author arranged this poem with a good rhyme scheme. Let's check if it's really correct. First, letter letter A rhyme scheme comes from the word land, sand, command. Do you think it is rhyme? Yes, it is. Letter B, we have the stone, the throne, and then red and fed, and then things, kings, and then appear, despair, and bear, and then decay, and away. So, notice everything is put according to their corresponding letter, and it goes well with the rhyme. So, okay, that's all for the rhyme scheme. Any question for that? None? Okay, let's proceed. So, what is the end rhyme of this poem? Ozymandias has a masculine ending because the end syllabus is stress. Additionally, if a line ends in a standard iambic with a final stress syllabus, It is said to have a masculine ending. Take a look in these last two stanza in the poem of that on in the poem. Of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Bare is stress syllable, while away is unstress followed by stress syllable. That is why it is called masculine, because of the end line that is stress, eh, that is stress in meter. So I hope you understand what I mean. So okay, let's proceed to the rhythmical pattern of this poem. So the rhythmical pattern of this poem is iambic pentameter, because there are 5 pairs of unstressed and stressed metrical feet. This 14-liner kind of poem has a 10 syllables has this 14-liner kind of poem has 10 syllable each, and each line have 5 unstressed and stressed syllables. Okay, so let's take a look at the breve and ictus of this poem. So the U symbol is the breve, which is the unstressed, and the dash or slash symbol is called the ictus, which is the stress. The poem followed the standard pattern of iambic type of metrical feet. But as you notice, I highlighted some words in the poem. As you can see, the highlighted one, like for example, in the third stanza, stand in has a different type of metrical fit. The fit is stress followed by unstressed, which we can identify as a trochaic type of metrical fit instead of iambic. Now, in this poem, the poet uses metrical substitution to give emphasis on a certain words. Like for example, in the word look on, look on in the first iambic fit of the 11th line of the poem. And in this case, Shelley exchanged from look on to look on. From unstressed to stress is being substituted to stress and unstressed, because the word look is emphasizes something important, and that makes the word special. I hope you understand that. Okay, now let's proceed to its poetic form. So Ozymandias is a sonnet, because a sonnet is a 14-line pentameter stanza. The poem is a 14-liner stanza, and it is iambic pentameter. That's why it is an Italian sonnet, because it has an octave line rhyme A B A B A C D C, followed by the succeeding sestet E D E F E F. So why it is called Italian sonnet? As you notice, the first 8 stanza the topic introduces the first topic, and the last 6 stanza introduces another topic or the second topic of the poem, meaning there is a change in the subject after the 8th stanza. I will read the first 8 stanza. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and snare of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamp on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. The first 8 stanza gives a description of what the statue look like by the second person point of view. After the detailed description, the poem continued with different topic. So I will read the last 6 lines. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sun stretch far away. In the last six stanza, the topic is go directly to the main theme of the poem that is being narrated by the first person point of view and the third person point of view. So, who is the persona of the poem? As I mentioned earlier, there are three voices that we can hear in the poem. Percy Shelley creates a persona or a speaker who is distinct from himself. There is a first person point of view, which is the author Shelley himself. It is found in the first verse of the poem. I met a traveler from an antique land. The word I is the voice of author describing that he met a traveler. The second person point of view is a traveler who gives a detailed description of what the statue all about. The description found in the second to the ninth line. And lastly, the third person is Ozymandias himself, describing and boasting his greatness and accomplishment. I think that the first person narrator is somehow a traveler or an ordinary man living in that certain location who just passed by and met the traveler, the other traveler, and his character is distinct to Shelley himself. So, the significant human experience or the theme of the poem goes along with the vanity of human greatness. Ozymandias is a king, and as a king, he accomplished many things. Maybe he won a war or built a castles, but behind those powers, everything is just in vain in the end. The line, nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level suns stretch far away. Those lines gives a powerful message that all power is temporary. Maybe we are in a position that we can get everything we want and do what we want to do. Or maybe we are in a position that we can control almost everything. But the poem is trying to say that even when we are in the highest position right now, when we die, everything will be nothing because we will all just turn to ashes. Even how powerful Ozymandias is, he is still not exempted to death because time will wait our death. Ozymandias think highly on himself and he is boasting everything he had accomplished. Just like our leaders, politicians, and even our status. Sometimes human becomes boastful in their achievement without realizing the most eternal things, which is the important things in life. The poem is trying to give a message that everything that we have right now, the empire that we build within ourselves, will always end up nothing and will be forgotten as time passes by. So, I think that would be all. Thank you for listening to me. I hope that you learned something to my report. I am not 100% sure if my analysis to the poem is correct. So, any other interpretation, questions, and clarification is highly accepted and appreciated. Just leave a comment if you have something to say with my report. Once again, thank you for listening and God bless.